Oh, well, hello, my baby gorillas. And I don't know if I've forgotten something. Let's just check this is working. And let's see if we can get something up. Oh, another lethal injection. Man, Mosun morning anchor. Neen Sherlock passes away suddenly. Oh my goodness. Beautiful, what a beautiful woman. So morning anchor, news anchor, Neen Pachulik passes away suddenly. This is today. So morning anchor passes away suddenly over the weekend. The entire team at News 9 are absolutely distraught by the loss, as we know so many others are as well. Nina loved this community and the people who lived here. She was the kind of person with a big heart and contagious smile, and we will miss her greatly, this station wrote. And you just wonder if she's been jagged. So Mike Tyson in a very bad situation as well, after he'd been jagged. So let's just check that I'm actually on. Low viewing figures, so this is obviously an issue.
I need to tell you about Naked Sprout, Britain's most sustainable toilet roll, made in Europe.
Wrote, and you just wonder if she's been jagged. So Mike Tyson in a very bad situation as well. Well, he was in a wheelchair after he'd been jagged. So let's just check that I'm actually on. Low viewing figures, so this is obviously an issue.
I need to tell you about Naked Sprout.
Right, that's fine. So we're all on here anyway. So that's very sad. Oh, here we go too.
A tactic is what's called mid-level violence. It's a form of political violence where you are engaging in a type of provocation that's just like a toe over the line or a foot over the line without going all the way over the line. And they do that specifically because they either want you to back down, in which case they win, or they want you to react, in which case they will film you and make it look like you overreacted so they can create the smear campaign to destroy you and force you to back down or force you to be silenced or move on. It's a very strategic manipulation, and it's called mid-level violence, and it's actually well documented. We're just politically, in terms of political warfare in the United States, we're all fairly ignorant, but Antifa's not. Now, as to their claim that they need to exist, I'll give them some credit. In the 1940s and 50s, when they were coming together, 30s, there was some truth to that, but this is not true any longer. So it's just a BS pretext so they can keep living out Herbert Marcuse's wet dream of refusing the entire society and pretending that we live in a state that he called repressive tolerance, where the right wing, the Christo-fascists, and all of these people are actually recruiting and actively growing, and that these communities actually needed protection. I'm sorry, guys, that died. That's not real. That stopped being real in Western nations a long time ago. I'm not saying that there's no right-wing fanatics. I'm not saying that's true. I'm saying that actually there's no need to protect from...
But even Mr. Lindsay's saying, talking about right-wing fanatics, I think what they fail to understand is nationalism as an ideology is not left or right. Racism is not left or right. And so to think that this is all just right-wing ideology, it's just not true.
From them through street militancy any longer. That's a fantasy that's dead at least 40 years. And you can say whatever you want, but if I were going to tell somebody who was a thoughtful person shaking a little bit loose from Antifa and that mentality, what I would tell them is you, Antifa, are the primary cause of the thing that you claim to be fighting. So you're creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're pissing people off to the point where they react against you and they become reactionaries because you're using these mid-level violence provocations that piss people off and don't give them due pathways to recourse. So they're left with, well, if you're going to make me look bad, I'm going to deserve to look bad. And then you have entities like the Proud Boys showing up and being total dickheads. So they
Well, I don't know if they're total dickheads. I think the Proud Boys are a reaction to Antifa and the violence that the globalists have allowed Antifa to get away with. Suddenly, I think we're just going to see this as well. Suddenly disappearing, didn't they? BLM and Antifa suddenly disappeared after Dopey Joe won the election.
creating the thing that they use to justify their own existence, which in other words is snake oil. The best case that they can make for themselves is a snake oil.
So it's almost as if Antifa are an extension, and BLM are an extension of the state.
Argument that because what was historically no longer is, and their idea that systems and structures are infinitely self-perpetuating, which is a Marxist belief about how the bourgeoisie rig society and dictate ideologies to keep themselves in power and to exclude certain other voices, is actually just a projection of how Marxists think, which is again why as political prostitutes they should really think twice about what they're supporting, because they're not useful to a regime except destabilizing the existing thing. Destabilizers are not useful to a regime that wants to be sustainable. And so they're going to be done away with or locked up or house arrested or put on the most strict forms of social credit limiting that anybody in this society is going to have. And they can whine and cry and piss and moan and try to mid-level violence a regime, a real regime, not a free country that allows them to get away with mid-level violence, and see what happens to them. They wouldn't get away with this shit in China, I'll tell you that right now. The Chinese government, if somebody tried to do what Antifa does in China, would smash their asses so hard, they'd all be in standing room only prisons under Tiananmen Square until they die. That only works in free countries. It only works in the place where exactly that is not what they say. So they're selling snake oil.
That's very interesting, yes.
First, I'll actually point...
Critical. This is what Nicola Sturgeon's brought in the guise of anti-racist theory. Nicola Sturgeon's brought this in to indoctrinate your children's. Critical race theory theorist and author of Think Like a White Man. Oh, I'm blocked with this character. Nels Abbey, you're blocked. No messing people. Nels Abbey has written the most original book ever. Benjamin something, that's Napoleon's Wellington statue, I think Like a White Man. I recommend this book. I can't recommend this book enough. Hilarious. Don't know why he's blocked me or the Guerilla TV channel. Allegedly defamed Lawrence Fox by calling him a racist and then hiding behind a block. In response, Fox tweeted a demand of retraction using an alternative account and threatened legal action. Abbey caved immediately. I am Lawrence's alternative account. I suggest you fully retract your grossly defamatory tweet. Or get crowdfunding going. You have 24 hours or you'll be hearing from my lawyers. Laws. I should have probably done that to the Daily Record and the Herald, but for defamation. Looking forward to Sir. Please join us on Unity News Network at DLive. So David Curtin's going on that at 8 p.m. Look at the state. That's Glasgow. As bad as Edinburgh. There's Edinburgh. The rats. And this is the woman's whose fault it was. Rubbish that's piling up, obviously. Sturgeon Progressive Scotland. What an advert. Oh, something happened here. An 8-year-old girl is stabbed in both eyes during gang rape in Sindh, Pakistan. My goodness. Oh, this is what I was looking for. This is exactly what I was looking for. Well, so this is from Mercurius, and they're also on YouTube. Do some great stuff.
It's scary. People across Scotland are going to be unable to heat their homes. We need to see a UK government get back to its job.
You could have a publicly owned energy company in Scotland right now if you had delivered the promise that you made.
By the end of this Parliament, we will set up a publicly owned, not-for-profit energy company.
What you said in 2017 was the idea at its heart is simple: no shareholders to worry about,
No shareholders to worry about,
no corporate bonuses to consider.
no corporate bonuses to consider.
And you sat around the table today with Centrica that paid out £59 million
Sure.
to shareholders.
But first, let me take a selfie.
The reasons we haven't made progress on that are largely impacted through COVID. Largely impacted through COVID. Largely impacted through COVID. Largely.
So that says Scottish Government was backing off by October 2018 when it was said it preferred a local authority-led model. Option for government-owned firm ditched in 2018 and all petered out after that. The reasons, sleek Sturgeon deceit alert, the reason we haven't made progress on the publicly owned energy company are largely impacted through COVID.
Impacted through COVID.
That's in 2018.
People across Scotland
People across Scotland are going to be unable to heat their homes.
are going to be unable to.
Now, whose fault is this? Is it Nicola Sturgeon's or Westminster's? Well, it's Westminster's basically. It's Rishi Sunak as Chancellor increasing inflation, and it's the Westminster and the Conservative Party allowing the power companies and foisting on. Same with Nippy as well, the green agenda, and this is what we're going to come on to
heat their homes.
You've been posing for pictures with Greta Thunberg.
We need to see action from the UK
Let me
government.
take another selfie.
The powers, the levers, the access to resources that can make a meaningful difference here lie with the UK government.
Not responsible. Not responsible. Not responsible. Selfie. 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 Selfie.
You could have a publicly owned energy company in Scotland right now if you had delivered the promise that you made to create one.
Woo! Let me take a selfie. Brilliant, brilliant, guys. Let's see what else you've got. Let's see if I can publicise you a wee bit more. What else?
You got a cold, cold heart. Do you
240 million of your money wasted in two unbuilt ferries.
feel it all? You build a house of
Where is the paperwork?
cards, but it's gonna
The SNP says it doesn't exist. It's probably heavily redacted.
fall. You think I
Alex Salmon spoke out.
don't see who you
Has evidence against Nicola Sturgeon redacted.
really are. I got no
MSPs are warned that they do not have protected speech as MPs do in Westminster. This is the fault of Westminster because they set up the Scotland Act and they should have had protected speech in the Scottish Parliament. Yet under the Scotland Act, which needs to be revisited, there is no protected speech for MSPs.
news coming. I've seen it all from the start.
They can't be prosecuted by Sturgeon's lawyers if they can be prosecuted by Sturgeon's lawyers if they speak out of turn.
I know you're
In England, the Crown Protection Service is independent of the government. Again, set up, I think, by Westminster. Also there is no upper chamber in Scotland as well. So there is limited. It's very easy to become fascistic in the failure of the Westminster MPs through the Scotland Act to have checks and balances through the Scottish Parliament. There's not enough checks and balances. And as we can see, Nicola Sturgeon is just becoming a wee dictator. In Scotland, the chief prosecutor sits in Sturgeon's cabinet, so there is a direct link between the political and the legal in every good totalitarian regime. Those who speak out against the SNP face boycotts, face calls to boycott, and not only do that, they go to jail. I think of Craig Murray, Alex Salmond, Manny Singh, who was set up, anybody who they don't like, they try and use the court system to put in jail, including myself, which will be happening later on. I'll fill you in about that later. Dissenting SNP MPs like Joanna Cherry. Well, Joanna Cherry is horrendous, but she didn't deserve abuse and threats, bullies and smears. I did none of these, but she was a bit like that towards me. But this was because she is a TERF, a trans exclusionary radical feminist, and wee Nippy's a postmodernist Marxist, that type as well. So Joanna Cherry's got penisophobia because she's a lesbian, an angry, misandrous lesbian. And wee Nippy obviously hasn't seen a penis in years.
Very deep inside.
Scotland schools are pulled out of international league tables because Nicola Sturgeon was falling down faster than a miner down a shaft.
No, you can't hide
To hide the SNP's abject failure in education standards.
your secrets and lies.
The first outbreak of COVID in the UK is hushed up.
Secrets and lies.
Emails sent to and from special advisors about Sturgeon's COVID briefing have been deleted. FOI requests are habitually refused. This is what happens when you're leading into a totalitarian regime. And those that are eventually released are heavily redacted. Just like in the Alex Salmond case. Just like redacted when they were raiding President Trump's house as well. Just able to not tell you what's the truth is.
You build a house of cards.
This is your country. Your government. And wee Nippy.
I know your secrets.
Hiding the truth from you.
I know your lies.
Scotland deserves better, it certainly does. And I'm not bothered if it's another nationalist MP, but I mean, really.
The streets of Edinburgh, and probably you just seem to be ignoring me as you're ignoring the public, as you're ignoring the rubbish piling up in the streets of Edinburgh, and probably the rest of Scotland over the next few weeks. Why are you ignoring us?
Because the Scottish Government waste is piling high. Right there.
Yeah, every year the Scottish Government gets more money to spend. You just wonder where the money's going. You really need a forensic accountant that deals with public sector accounts to go through where the money's gone. Nicola Sturgeon chooses to spend it on her own pet projects instead, which always seem to fail. Like giving it to the Indian steel worker, or everywhere that she spent it seems to be a disaster. Not going to Scottish entrepreneurs. She's meant to be a Scottish nationalist. We'll see how fake that is in a minute.
The next item of business is a statement by Nicola Sturgeon on independence referendum.
So this week Nicola Sturgeon is in Denmark spending her money in overseas offices, while at the same time you're living in a rubbish dump. But Nicola Sturgeon was not seen by the Danish First Minister or Prime Minister or somebody up in Denmark. So, I mean, really great stuff, guys. Really correct. One more. I'll do one more. I'm not going to do that one. Hey, the crowds flock to see him. Hang on every word. Nicola Sturgeon's done exactly the same as Boris has done, and actually follows the exact same policies. Now, why is that? Why would somebody who's meant to be a conservative and somebody who's meant to be a nationalist, who are meant to follow different directions, have exactly the same policies? Because they're all globalist shills. And this is what you have to understand. From the Greens to the SNP to the Liberal, undemocratic Democrats to the GIMP Labour to the SNP to Plaid Company, they are all what they call progressive, postmodernist Marxists, and they're all following the globalist shill agenda from Baldy Dr. Evil. The 2030 agenda. So if you swap from, that Nicola Sturgeon's rubbish, I'm going to vote Labour, it's going to be the same policies. Same with the Tories. And I'm using the Tories as an example, but I could use exactly the same principles for Labour. There might be slight tinkering, slight policy difference, but the overall move is going to be on the larger issues under the agenda for the postmodernist Marxism, and also for postmodernist Marxism and for globalism. That's the agenda. But that's not what they tell you. Oh, we're the National Party. Oh, yeah, we believe in Scottish... I don't know what they believe in. Scottish what? Like a communal nationalism or a community national? I don't even know what they were talking about. Sounds like a lot of waffling nonsense. What they do believe in is postmodernist Marxism and open door immigration. What they do believe in following the 2030 agenda. That's what they believe. That's what Wee Nippy is. Wee Nippy ain't no nationalist. Wee Nippy's a globalist show, and every policy that she's brought in over the last 7 years has to be reversed, and they have to change, because everything that she's done has been to the disadvantage of Scotland, not to the advantage of the ordinary man and woman on the street, and it's going to continue to get worse until you realise that by voting for any one of these parties, you're voting against your own interests. And I don't know if there's going to be a political epiphany to that extent. She's diminished her own movement. She's nothing to show her voters, and she's got no policy. She's clueless. She's ideologically driven and completely rudderless. Their policies aren't working. Our policies are making things worse. She might as well not have been there, because if nothing had happened in Scotland, it would be better than the policies she's implemented. Of course, we only have to look at. Let's try and get a Twitter up again. So, see if I can find this quickly. So I played this yesterday in yesterday's stream, but it just shows you, and this is the second one that I've seen of interactions between SNP members, where the SNP are basically so it's obviously understood that Nicola is on her way out. Let me just show you this, how disgusting this is. This is this woman facilitated alleged rape and torture by Pakistani child rape gangs on 6 white indigenous English children on over a 20-year period. Now, I don't know if she's guilty.
You're the white woman, aren't you, that was facilitating it, aren't you? That's why you're hiding your face. You are, aren't you?
Listen, you little fucking git
out
my way.
Move out
of my fucking way, you clown.
How many girls did you get raped?
Lots of them you did.
You horrible bitch. All them girls you got raped.
All them girls?
Yeah.
Fuck off away from me, you prick. Move that fucking phone now. Move your phone now. I'll smash it to pieces, you cunt.
Yeah.
Move.
Sorry.
Listen to facts before you start putting things on there. It's not right, love. Please believe me.
You facilitated it.
No, nothing at all, love. You've got it wrong.
Why am I?
So I think this is the thing as well. It's very difficult sometimes that these situations are mistaken, and it's very difficult to point the finger. What we need to do is have polygraph tests for the accused and accuser, and one of them has to go to jail. So if somebody's lying about so if this woman is actually being maligned, then there's then she has to be protected by law, and polygraph tests will actually help that. But just now it's not legal, but it has to be brought in at some day, because we can't have miscarriages of justice. What else we're doing? What else? What was that shown here?
Be too critical of, and the numbers.
So this migrant crisis has been caused by the Tories. It's the Tories that have let them in. It's Tories that are giving them free accommodation and free benefits to people just walking into the UK breaking the law. So you can't trust the Tories in immigration, or any of the other political parties. If you want a change in immigration, you're going to have to look at political parties that are strong in immigration, potentially UKIP, potentially UK Reform. I'm sure there's probably a few others, but you have to start looking at them. Somebody who's got an immigration policy to repatriate to country of origin.
And the numbers are going to go up. I think we can't be too critical of the Rwanda plan, because we haven't really given it a chance.
Well, they're not going to give it a chance, because it was set up to fail right from the start. It was never meant to be given a chance. They want open borders for political and social and reasons to push their agenda.
Not yet, because of the legal challenges.
And that's the so-called Conservative Party.
And of course,
it's nothing to do with the Conservative Party have set this up, so it's been set up to fail. They want open borders. They are globalist shills. The Conservative Party are not a Conservative Party. They're a globalist shill party. It's about time you understood this.
Judicial review, next week. So we'll see whether our courts think it's legal.
They're taxing. They're using the RNLI as a taxi service. Same with the Navy. That can only be done through the Home Office. They're literally taxing over these individuals into the UK to basically break the law, and then just letting them go, and then putting them up in hotels at your expense.
Or no. What I do know is that notices have already served on people that are eligible to be removed to Rwanda.
Yeah, they're not going to do it. I mean, I think they've sent 36. There's 1,300 that came over in one day. They're not even deporting criminals. So it's all a lie by the Tories. The Tories are doing this deliberately and not only that, they are giving people housing ahead of the indigenous population who they're letting sleep on the streets, which again could be considered as ethnic cleansing. Ethnic cleansing under the Geneva UN Treaty Declaration on Genocide. They're making the indigenous population harder and importing replacement immigration, which I think is illegal and may have to be prosecuted. The people who have done this may have to be prosecuted.
Judicial review goes in the government's favour, then these people can be...
And it's only young men. This is 90% men. What's the point now? What's the point? And they're now raping women. There was another sexual assault. So, I mean, that's incredible. An 8-year-old Hindu girl, Khalifa, stabbed in both her eyes during gang rape in Umarkot, Singha, Pakistan. She's in hospital, still bleeding and critical condition. So, just guys, border force boats should escort migrants back to France, not Britain. Liz Armstrong, they should be deported to the country of origin. Bid to set up. So this is what we've got to look forward to. So, Rushdie attack underlines the value of teaching challenging books. So here we go, there's some fella here. Detectives launch investigation after woman is raped in Gloucestershire. Detectives launch investigation after woman raped in Gloucestershire. Police hunting a man who raped a woman in Gloucestershire on Friday evening shortly after meeting her at a bus stop, having issued CCTV. But we've got to police comedians under wee nippy, the twisted-faced little bism. Woke Edinburgh Festival sells 25% less tickets. Time to resign, Sadiq Khan. Woke liberals. See, you can't be a woke liberal. Woke means communist. So if you're not a liberal, if you're a communist, I'm not oppressed. You are. You just aren't aware. They need me to white explain your oppression for you. You're feeble and lower than me, and you need me to be your saviour. You can't get by without me. Here we go. This is great.
Topic. Some of you, I'm going to be very careful with this first topic. Some of you might think I'm a conspiracy theorist, and that's fine. But for this monologue, I'm not going to share my own opinion at all.
How's that conspiracy? We know Avi Yemeni's been to Davos and filmed the meeting. We already know they're all meeting. We've known for years that they're all meeting there. I don't know how it's a conspiracy. They've written books. How can it be a conspiracy if they've written books? And everybody goes. We know that Turdo's part of their Dr. Evil, Baldy Dr. Evil's, Klaus Schwab's nefarious group, as so is Horsey Face in Canada. It's not a conspiracy by any stretch of the imagination.
I'm simply going to explain the facts, or lay out the facts, and let you guys decide for yourselves whether it's a good thing or not. I want to talk about the World Economic Forum, the WEF. What is the World Economic Forum? Well, officially, it's an international non-governmental lobbying organization founded by German engineer Klaus Schwab. WEF famously host their annual meeting in Davos.
Baldy Dr. Evil and a bunch of commie corporatists.
And this meeting is a gathering of the global elite, politicians, big business, celebrities, and big investors. It's a lobby group in favour of a globalised world, governments and businesses working together.
Corporatism. The business and government working together is not corporatism, but companies lobbying government to change the rules or skew the open market is corporatism.
Soros spoke at Davos.
And that should be criminalised.
Davos in 2011 about redesigning the international monetary system.
Yeah, I bet he bloody did.
Bill Gates spoke at the most recent Davos about preparing for the next pandemic. Klaus Schwab talks
about Dr. Evil.
About the diversity of the WEF's reach in the...
he's got his nefarious fingers in many pies.
German Chancellor Angela Merkel.
Oh, here's the mad lesbo.
And Russian President...
the mad commie lesbo.
Vladimir Putin are both members of the WEF.
I think Putin's resigned.
Not only are global leaders members...
It just shows you, if Putin is not... It could be the WEF that started the war in Ukraine, but yet playing both sides. They could be both sides of the same coin. They could actually be the people on both sides, so the war could be done as just a smoke screen. And that's what could be happening. It could just be a smoke screen, and they're all in it together.
But Schwab goes on to say, we penetrate the cabinets. More than half of the cabinet members in the governments of Canada, Argentina and France are aligned with the WEF.
So big nose in France as well. He's just a show as well.
Yeah. In the year before COVID, a quarter of the UK cabinet attended Davos.
Yeah, they're all. I told you, the Tories are just a global show organisation. They're all taking their orders, the marching orders from Baldy Dr. Evil.
Including Theresa May.
There's a surprise.
Hammond.
There's a surprise.
Liam Fox.
There's a surprise.
Greg Clark.
There's a surprise.
Matt Hancock.
There's a surprise.
Penny Mordaunt.
There's a surprise.
Jeremy Wright.
There's a surprise.
The list goes on and on.
Yeah, but I bet you they're the usual suspects.
You may have heard many of these people uttering...
You can't trust the Tories, that's it. You can't trust the Tories. The Tories are not conservative. They're a globalist shell party and they're a busted flush.
...the phrase, build back better.
And the Labour Party ain't any better. The Labour Party are got the same guys going over. There's who's the dumb one? Who's the thick mastermind? David Lammy. So Dodo David Lammy is away to Bilderberg. So he's part of the Bilderberg. Who he went over? Gove went over with David Lammy. Two of them went over to the Bilderbergers.
Over the past couple of years, this is a WEF slogan in relation to bringing about the Great Reset.
Yeah, we don't want a Great Reset, and who the hell are you guys?
Changing our social, political and economic landscape in favour of a fourth industrial revolution.
But what they're trying to do, is rather than having an even playing field, they're trying to skewer the playing field.
It's a campaign slogan parroted by UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, US President Joe Biden, His Royal Highness Prince Harry, and New Zealand PM Jacinda Ardern. The mayor.
So all the worst characters you could possibly imagine are all connected to this global reset. And they're the worst individuals. This is why when you go to the ballot box, you have to be more discerning about who you're voting for. All of these people are the worst people. You should be checking if these guys are attending or going to the WEF, and if they're supporting, you should have an understanding of what the 2030 agenda, what the Great Reset, and test the candidates on what they're actually doing, if they're actually pursuing it, and then don't vote for them.
Mayor of London Sadiq Khan as well, to name but a few. It's interesting that they're all singing from exactly the same hymn sheet.
I think Calvin's been watching the Guerilla TV channel, hasn't he? But no, that's good. I'm all for converters anyway, and an understanding. But we've got this all from Alex Jones, the GOAT, the greatest of all time. And Alex was telling us this years ago. It was Alex Jones that, and to a slightly lesser extent, PJW as well, Paul Joseph Watson, that taught us about the globalist and really got his understanding. And I did a great interview with what's his name? Who was in? He was the leader of Jerry Baton, who also seemed to have an understanding of this a number of years ago as well. He went to I think the Bilderberg meeting as well with Alex Jones. So these guys seem to. Some people did have an understanding, but the general public probably did not understand what was going on here.
Klaus Schwab, founder of the WEF, has released a few books, most notably in 2016, The Fourth Industrial Revolution, predicting social, political, cultural and economic changes that he said could unfold in the 21st century.
Now, they use these, so it's not, they don't predict them, they already know what's going to happen. Like, they already knew about COVID and locking us in a house and destroying small and medium-sized businesses. They used the COVID, which might have actually, the injections might have been the reason that the lady in the Anchor and so many other people are sort of snuffing it just now. But my friend, I felt really sorry. My friend had a daughter, and my friend told me that she was very worried that her daughter was wanting to use the injections because she wanted to go away on holiday. And my friend was very worried about using these injections, and I obviously warned her against it. And but her daughter was still keen on not only giving herself, the daughter, injections, but also the daughter's children injections as well. And we're now seeing people dropping dead in sports fields and all sorts, and anchors, and oh my goodness. Let's see Salty Cracker. Let's do it. Let's do a selfie.
So apparently we're going to continue playing this game where all of the deaths lately, all of the sudden adult death syndromes that are occurring are because of cold showers, climate change, of course, racism, loud dogs barking, and now add this one to the list. Sorry, you gotta scroll up a little bit so you can get a good dose of the stupidity. Car fumes from exhaust and heavy braking raise risk of heart attacks, studies suggest. Was this study funded by Big Pharma? Did Moderna, AstraZeneca, and Pfizer co-write this article? Because this is fucking stupid. This is stupid. Did heavy braking and car fumes wreck my Mike Tyson? You sons of bitches! It's getting very interesting. Again, this is why they're moving to blame all of this on Trump, by the way. This is why you're allowed to now question masks, vaccines that aren't vaccines, or experimental injections.
I love Salty Cracker, but I wish I knew his name. But it's quite interesting that my transformation for me being in this wee box here, and he's in the wee box. I think it's obviously better the way that I am. What do you guys think? Do you think it's better this way or that way? Is it better with the wee cutout, or is it better me like this? I think it's better like this. But to be honest with you, Salty Cracker's stuff is great anyway, so...
You're now allowed to question all of this as they start to organize and get ready to blame all of this on Trump, because a lot of people are sitting there going, the fuck is sudden adult death syndrome? That don't make any sense. Which is really sparking the walnuts to go.
I'm laughing because... I mean, I couldn't have done much more. I told people I was starting to get banned on YouTube for telling people we covered the protests. I advised people what not to do, and I couldn't have really done much more on the back of it. But it's like sticking your hand in the fire. But if you take these and now you're dead, and you've left loved ones, and it's very heartbreaking for me, and these people really need punished.
Hold on a second. Sudden adult death and death syndrome stupid doesn't make any sense. What about sudden infant death? Yeah, welcome to the party, essays. Got a whole bunch of people, record number. I'm waiting for some people to start cataloging this. I think it's public information, right?
And big shout out to Unity News Network as well. They did that a lot, and David Clues did a lot on covering this as well. And he did a great attempt at trying to waken up the public as well. I just hope a lot of the public don't die because of their desires to do what the government tells them.
Go through death certificates the last 2 years, and you're going to be able to see a drastic increase in that line where it says cause of death. It's going to be redacted or blank, right? Unless they got the fucking nerve to put climate change in there. Climate change killed little Susie, who's 16 years old on the track team. What? Climate change? What? No. So I guess it's everything, right? Cold shower. It's everything, but not the Fauci sauce, right? Nobody.
And the government has covered the if the injectables were the situation that caused all of these people now to have heart attacks. The government has now covered up. The globalists have now covered up the fact through the court that you're not allowed to sell. You're not allowed to sue these pharmaceutical corporations if one of your loved ones suddenly drops dead of a heart attack. And also, even if that you guys are still voting for the same people that caused this anyway, the same politicians, and rather than dumping the lot of them.
Look at the Fauci. It's 100% safe, 100% effective. Now come in here and take your 18th fucking shot. Daily Mail over here. Car fumes from exhaust and heavy braking raise risk of heart attack. Study suggests fumes pumped from vehicle exhausts increase the...
And not to mention that the pharmaceutical companies made billions of pounds for something that didn't stop it getting spread, and didn't stop you getting it. So what was the point? If it's potentially caused God knows how much, there's an unusual increase in deaths just now, as we've covered before, I think.
Risk of heart attacks. Researchers found links between attacks and the air pollution from traffic. Thousands of UK deaths from heart disease a year may be from air pollution. Okay, all right, let's play this game. Can we get a breakdown over here? How many of these people slammed on their brakes, got a whiff, and then keeled over and are also on their 5th mandated experimental injection right into their veins? How many? Because I'm thinking it's all of them. These fucking cars have been around 100 plus years. I mean, you've had shit in the air forever. But now, all of a sudden, healthy basketball high schoolers are keeling over. And they're sitting there going, well, let's blame air. That don't look into anything, but just let's blame the cold showers. Fucking stupid. This is all coming to a head. And again, this is why they've got to blame somebody. And they ain't gonna blame Trump, or they're not gonna blame Fauci, they're not gonna blame Biden, they're not gonna blame Moderna, they're not gonna blame Pfizer, they're not gonna blame any of these people. All these lizard shitbags with their human suits telling everybody that you better do this, you can't leave the house.
After getting the Pfizer shot, doctors say it's not uncommon for people to have that reaction.
Vermelho. Sabe por quê? Olha,
Get vaccinated. Oh, not today, guerillatvchannel.
Let me just play that again.
After getting the Pfizer shot, doctors say it's not uncommon for people to have that reaction.
vermelho. Sabe por quê? Olha,
Get vaccinated. Oh, not today, guerillatvchannel. No, my friends, take a look at this. You got a shit ton of people passing out on television lately. It's weird. What has changed in the last year or so? Is it them bug burgers? These sons of bitches eating them bug burgers? I wouldn't put it past them. Maybe it's that soy vegan diet. I can't tell, but I do know that this son of a bitch over here was on German television telling all the plebs, go out there and take the 100% safe, 100% shot. Oh, you don't want to take it? There's some group of Germans out there that don't want to take it. Fuck it, let's make that shit mandatory. Now again, I feel real bad, especially when you're seeing all of these students pass out, especially these student athletes and these other athletes passing out on the pitch. When you're seeing all of these people pass out, I sit there and go, oof, that's bad. That's bad. I feel real bad for them because they were medically extorted. They were put into that situation by other people. When I see people pushing forced medical experimentation, vaccinations, big quotes for vaccination injections over here, I ain't gonna lose any fucking sleep. I ain't gonna lose any fucking sleep over here. Take a look at this one at InfoWars again. Is anybody keeping a list of all the people passing out live on television? Add this chick to the list. German television presenter pushes for mandatory vaccinations, then collapses live on air. Well, that's a shame. Maybe she should take some more jabs. Maybe that'll cure it. That's how you know it's working. Reporter begins mumbling unintelligibly and then stares blankly before appearing to fall over. I mean, holy shit, this chick looks possessed. This chick is a fucking demon hacker with rainbow hair. They hit give, said, go. Are they all the same pills?
I'm not an unknown actor. I'm literally a famous fucking cyber terrorist.
They're definitely all the same pills. A German television interviewer fainted during a newscast just seconds after she pushed for mandatory vaccinations again. What do the Germans like to say at this point? Schadenfreude? Is that what we're doing over here? The incident happened Tuesday during a live on-air NTV news broadcast while reporter Claire Pfeiffer was interviewing politician Sepp Mueller.
Wow. What are you guys saying? Let me get you up. It's the UN Army for when the riots start, yeah. Countries are registered as corporations. Oh, hi there, hi Hank, how you doing, brother? Leon Marketplace, more jabs than the James Brown song. Oh dear, right, so let's go back to Calvin.
His most recent book is titled COVID-19, The Great Reset, in which he sets out a catalyst for this fourth industrial revolution by taking advantage of the pandemic. Klaus Schwab spoke about using the COVID pandemic as an opportunity to bring about the Great Reset. The pandemic represents a rare but narrow window of opportunity to reflect, reimagine, and reset our world.
So they probably did it deliberately.
His Royal Highness Prince Charles spoke at Davos 2020, saying, "As we move from rescue to recovery, therefore, we have a unique but rapidly shrinking window of opportunity to learn lessons and reset ourselves on a more sustainable path. It is an opportunity we have never had before and may never have again. We must use all the levers we have at our disposal, knowing that each and every one of us has a vital role to play."
Oh, good. I can't wait till you give up your money.
Calling this the Great Reset. Last March, these global leaders, including our Prime Minister Boris Johnson, announced a new treaty for pandemic preparedness and response, which would give the World Health Organization unprecedented control.
So this is what I'm saying. So let me just get this back here. Say it again, Calvin.
Boris Johnson announced a new treaty for pandemic preparedness and
So Boris Johnson, so Wee Nippy would sign up to this as well. Wee Nippy was probably more authoritarian than Bojo was, but there was literally no difference because Wee Nippy is a globalist shill. There was no difference between Nippy and Bojo on what they were at the policies they actually induced or inducted. Policies they brought forward. When it comes to immigration, Wee Nippy's an open borders exponent, so is Boris. Boris wanted amnesties for illegal immigrants who were overstays. So there is no difference between... so even if Scotland became independent, Wee Nippy would still be bringing in the globalist agenda, and it would just be regardless of the hue of the political class, unless you transfer your vote outside of the globalist shill parties, that you're going to get more and more of this. It's going to continue and continue and continue, and the protection of you as an individual get less and less. So Bojo, and I don't know for a fact, but I pretty much guarantee that Nippy would have signed up to what the proposal of WHO pandemic preparation treaty was, and WHO is not a medical organisation. It's basically a policy organisation chaired by some communists from Ethiopia.
Response, which would give the World Health Organization unprecedented control over sovereign nations.
Yeah, so why is a global body having control over what I don't want a non-accountable globalist body and bringing in legislation? I thought we had already knocked that in the head with the EU, but these characters will push and push in every way that they can get, so that they can get an unaccountable technocracy to actually put in legislation over and above the Parliament, so that they don't have to have any responsibility, so that they can move forward the globalist agenda.
The idea being that in a time of global emergency, one world government could respond quicker to, and I quote, keep the world safe and...
Yeah, I'm not really interested in one world government, thanks very much, and I'm not interested in those that want to bring it forward.
...serve the vulnerable so everyone everywhere can attain the highest level of health. I'll say that again.
I'm sure a government body doesn't dictate whether I have the highest level of health or not. I'm sure it's more to do at the local level.
For emphasis, one.
Or the individual level.
World government. In June of this year, the WEF tweeted a promotional message. "Welcome to 2030. I own nothing, have no privacy, and life has never been better." After I tweeted it, or retweeted it, highlighting what I perceived to be neo-feudalism, the tweet was deleted. But that is not the first time they've promoted the message, "You will own nothing and be happy." 2030 is not that far away. We have since entered a cost of living crisis, and a European war has broken out in Ukraine. And coincidentally, the United Nations set a 2030 agenda for sustainability.
Another unelected globalist shell body that doesn't have any accountability to the individual, that can then legislate, and we Nippy and the Scottish National Party, who believe in an independent Scotland, obviously so we can control our own destiny, wants to give the power to the European Union, which is the stage towards the one world government, and we Nippy's completely happy with that. That's why she's been a disaster. But so is Boris. Boris is both for and against policies of being in the EU. Boris is not a natural leaver, and he's just continued with the same policies that he had for the globalists as well.
Their top goals are being no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being. The same people involved, Bill Gates, Emmanuel Macron and Boris Johnson, have all been seen wearing the Agenda 2030 badge.
So there you go. So Boris and wee Nippy is both pushing this 2030 agenda, not basing their policies on what's best for the Scottish people or the British people, but based on what's this globalist agenda, whether it's right or wrong, not being scrutinised by the people of the UK or of Scotland, but just brought in and superimposed on us without any accountability from transnational bodies that are not accountable in themselves.
Subscribing
and have got no democratic legitimacy.
Policy. To reiterate, none of what I've said is conspiratorial. It's all from official literature.
Yeah, we know this. I don't know why you try to justify it. I don't know if you get some crackpots out there that are not on top of their game. But we've known this for years and years and years, Calvin. This is not you. Alex Jones was, probably because one of the reasons that they got rid of him was because she was on top of this. So at some stage, Silicon Valley might see themselves getting banned in other countries. So I'd be very careful if I was them.
All from official websites of the WEF and the UK. The WEF is an unaccountable body of global elites lobbying for a globalist agenda. That's a basic fact. Which raises the question, all of this talk of building back better, we must ask, build back better for whom?
For the globalists, it's the globalists, and this is why when the future king is involved in this politics, he should have been outside of this, but he seems to be involved at this level, whereas the Queen, I don't think, would have been going to these meetings. The King should not be politically involved, and he's involved in this 2030. And I think Prince William is as well, which is even more worrying. But they're not meant to be politically involved, and this is why I'm worried about the deep state. And wee Nippy's not done anything different. Wee Nippy follows everything. So regardless if Scotland was independent or Scotland was part of the UK, and it was under the SNP, who are a globalist shill organisation, we would still be getting exactly the same policies we would if we were in the union with the rest of the UK. The only difference is that wee Nippy and the globalists would have us attached to the undemocratic, unaccountable European Union. And that's what would happen. That's where we would be at under wee Nippy, because she's just a shell for the globalists. I'm getting the feel that an 80s sci-fi movie script, yeah, it's like the Twilight Zone, isn't it? It's exactly right, mate. That's exactly what it is. It's exactly like the Twilight Zone. I've done just over an hour, so I think I'm going to give it a bye there, but I'm going to be on later on, and we're going to be covering which political party that I would have actually picked and joined out of the 25, and we'll go over in Scotland because it's proportional representation, or some bastardised form of proportional representation that only the 5 big parties can basically get elected in. It's very difficult for smaller parties to get elected. That we have some form of proportional representation, and yeah, that's it. We've got some form of proportional representation that gets the 5 large parties elected, and it would be better if we had some of the smaller parties in a change in the electoral system to actually get smaller parties elected. and hopefully not the Greens, because they're absolutely shocking. I'll go over the Greens again later. The YouTube took one of my videos off about the Greens. I think the YouTube's taken about 5 videos of mine off the internet, a lot of whom were well liked as well. Baby Gorillas, you know I love you. So basically, in a nutshell, the policies that Nicola Sturgeon was doing are exactly the same policies that Boris Johnson were doing. The reason that these are both the same, even though that Nicola Sturgeon's meant to be a nationalist, a kid-on nationalist, and Boris is a kid-on conservative, is because the agenda is set above them, and they both have to correspond with the globalist agenda, not the actual manifestos that are meant to be implemented to benefit the British and Scottish people. So that's why we've got burdening inflation, that's why we've got record fuel bills. It's all been done deliberately, and it's all been done deliberately to adversely affect you. This is not in your interest, this is against your interests. They might say it's in the planet's interest, but just plant more trees. If it's CO2, just plant more trees. There's no requirement for this. This is being deliberately done to you by the globalists. Stop voting for them. It's not good enough to be non-globalist. You have to be actively anti-globalist.